Republican presidential candidate and Texas Representative Ron Paul will be speaking, talking about his campaign and more. It's just getting started, live here on C-SPAN 3.
Through our programming, events such as this, while working to foster a free press worldwide. For more information about the National Press Club, I'd invite you to visit our website at www.press.org and to donate to programs offered to the public through our Eric Friedheim National Journalism Library. You can find information on our website about that as well. So on behalf of our members worldwide, I'd like to welcome our speaker today, as well as those of you attending today's event. Our head table includes guests of our speaker, as well as working journalists who are club members. And I always issue this reminder, if you hear applause in our audience, we note that members of the general public are attending, so it's not necessarily evidence of a lack of journalistic objectivity. I'd also like to welcome our C-SPAN and public radio audiences today. Our luncheons are also featured in our member-produced weekly podcast from the National Press Club, available for free download on iTunes. You can also follow the action on Twitter using the hashtag #NPCLunch. After our guest speech concludes, we'll have Q&A, and I'll ask as many questions as time permits. Well, now it's time to introduce our head table guests, and please note that a journalist's presence at the head table does not imply or signify an endorsement of the speaker. I'd ask each of you here to please stand up briefly as your name is announced, and we'll begin from your right. Sam Hosseini is Communications Director of the Institute for Public Accuracy and founder of VotePack.org. Diane Bartz is a reporter for Reuters. Jonathan Salant is a reporter for Bloomberg News, and he's also one of our former presidents here at the National Press Club. Holly Johnson is a scheduler for the Congressman, a guest of the Speaker. Todd Gilman is the Washington bureau chief for the Dallas Morning News. And Jeff Deist is the chief of staff for the Congressman's Congressional Office, a guest of the Speaker. We'll skip over the podium for just a moment. Melissa Charbonneau is with Newshook Media, and she is the fabulous chair of our Speakers Committee. Without her, we'd have no Speakers program this year, and we're forever in your debt. Thank you very much, Melissa. We'll skip over our speaker for just a moment. Danny Selnick is vice president for the Public Policy Wire, a division of Business Wire, and he's the NPC member who organized today's event so well. Danny, thank you. Gary Howard is the National Press Secretary for the Congressman's presidential campaign, a guest of the Speaker. Gary, welcome. Mike Gonzalez is Vice President of Communications for the Heritage Foundation. We have a new NPC member to celebrate her presence today. Tamara Hinton is Communications Director with the House Ag Committee. Welcome, and thank you, Tamara. And at the end of the table, Mark Tapscott is editorial page editor for the Washington Examiner, a longtime club member. And now please give them a warm round of applause. Our guest speaker today is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Texas's 11th Congressional District, who announced his run to become GOP nominee for President of the United States this past July. He's known by many as the intellectual godfather of the Tea Party movement. Our guest has called for reductions in government that go well beyond those advocated by other so-called conservatives. He wants to abolish most federal agencies, including the IRS and the Federal Reserve, and to return our monetary system to something akin to a gold standard. He has proposed a constitutional amendment that would abolish personal income, estate and gift taxes, and prohibit the government from engaging in business and competition with the private sector. It was back in 2002, he was among the 6 Republicans who voted against giving President George W. Bush authority to use military force in Iraq. He said the resolution was unconstitutional because it transferred the right to declare war from Congress to the executive branch. So he has remained a consistent critic of military interventions in foreign lands, and in 2010, he and Massachusetts Democrat Barney Frank campaigned for cuts in the defense budget to help trim the deficit. He takes a dim view of foreign aid generally. He opposes U.S. support for the International Monetary Fund and the World Trade Organization, and generally favors a U.S. withdrawal from the United Nations. Some have said that our speaker's libertarian beliefs make him an erratic ally of other GOP causes. He has said that he believes marriage is the union of one man and one woman. He voted in 2004 and 2006 against a proposed constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage, saying everyone is an individual and ought to be treated equally. He also backed repeal in late 2010 of the statutory ban on gays and lesbians serving openly in the military. At odds with many other libertarians, he opposes abortion. Our guest also ran for president in 2008, but he decided this time around to put all of his energies into the 2012 race, vowing that he would not seek a 12th term in Congress. Originally from Pittsburgh, our speaker graduated from Gettysburg College and the Duke University School of Medicine. He moved to Texas in 1968 and began his medical practice as a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology. He entered politics in the 1970s and won a seat in Congress. In 1984, he voluntarily relinquished his House seat and returned to his medical practice. Returning to Congress in 1997 to represent the 14th Congressional District of Texas, he serves on the Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Financial Services Committee, and as chairman of the Subcommittee on Domestic Monetary Policy and Technology. Our speaker is also the author of several books, including The Revolution, Manifesto, End the Fed, Liberty Defined, Challenge to Liberty, The Case for Gold, and A Republic, If You Can Keep It. I'll say that we are grateful that he accepted our invitation to speak, because here at the club, we believe it's important that the National Press Club contribute to a civil discussion of important issues of our day, with the election process chief among them. Please give a warm National Press Club welcome to Congressman Ron Paul.
Thank you very much for that nice introduction and that nice reception. I am honored that I received an invitation to speak here today, so I'm very pleased to be here and look forward to visiting with you. You know, before I get into my remarks, I did want to make one announcement with the campaign. I'm not very good at remembering the details of campaigning because I get really very much involved in economic policy and foreign policy, and I don't talk a whole lot about the intricacies of the campaign. But you know, we did just end a quarter for fundraising, and the reports will be out, I think, on the 15th. But we do have pretty sound numbers that we have on the amount of money we collected. And I've been told by the staff that we have collected over $8 million, and also that our number of donors to the campaign now is over 100,000. So we are very pleased with that and believe that will give us the energy to keep the campaign moving right along, since right now there's a lot of energy with our volunteers and with our organization, and we have a lot of energy associated with our young people on college campuses, so that will continue. But I do want to spend some time today to get started in the discussion is on economic policy, because in the campaign, economic policy right now is the big issue, and the issue of jobs and why we're in a recession and what exactly is going on. 4 years ago, this subject came up, and even in 2007, I was talking about being in a recession, and this was sort of fluffed off. Things have changed a whole lot. My concerns about the monetary system, the Federal Reserve System, the unemployment rate, the financial bubbles that we were experiencing early on have all come about where the average person on the street knows there's something very seriously wrong. And this is not like another recession. We've had 17 setbacks, recession types, some more severe than others, since we've had our Federal Reserve System. So this whole idea that the Federal Reserve is supposed to be the major participant in central economic planning, and they're supposed to give us stable prices, and they're supposed to give us full employment. I would say the evidence is out there. They haven't done a very good job. And even though they might give you statistics and say, well, yes, prices aren't going up that much. Actually, we would like them to go up a little faster, and we only have 2% inflation when they measure prices and CPI. But that is a fiction, and I think most people know it. If you go back to the old calculation of CPI, and if you look to the free market economists, you will find that prices are going up at a rate of about 9%, and for some people in the economy it goes up even faster. So everybody's inflation rate it's not all the same. So, you know, if you're a very wealthy person, you don't really care about the price of gasoline and other things. But if you're living on the margin, or if you're a retired person, it's a very serious matter. And right now, retirees are suffering a whole lot because the last two go-arounds, they didn't get a cost of living increase, claiming that there's no price inflation to worry about. But my challenge over the many years and my motivation to get involved in politics in the 1970s had to do with economic policy in relationship to the principle of personal liberty. I deal with, if somebody asks me what my main goal is, and that is to restore individual liberty to everybody in this country equally. And then you would have a special way of looking at all civil liberties. You would have a special idea about what kind of foreign policy we should have, but certainly it would tell us what kind of an economic policy that we would have. So I believe in the free market. I believe the free market is the only humane system that can provide the maximum benefits to the maximum number of people. And I reject central economic planning. My whole problem in a political sense is that we are now witnessing the failure of an economic system that has been with us especially since the 1930s, because basically we as a people in our universities have been taught Keynesian economics, and that's planned economy, and the Federal Reserve has become the big central economic planner. But the results right now and the demonstrations on the streets, not only around the world but here in the United States, demonstrates that there's a lot of people who are pretty upset, know there's something wrong, and they want something different. But the big goal is to define exactly why and how we got into this mess and what we have to do to get out of it. The whole theory behind free market economics is that the Federal Reserve is the key instrument for the business cycle. Their job is to monkey around and fix interest rates, the price of money. Most people in this country, most economists, conservative or liberal, are no longer pushing wage and price controls. That doesn't mean they might not try that later on, because wage and price controls are coming in medicine, and that's one of the problems we have already, and we'll have it much worse. But nobody really is out there saying wage and price controls is something that is beneficial. But when it comes to fixing the price of money, fixing interest rates, nobody asks any questions. I mean, they just assume, well, the Federal Reserve knows what's best. They know exactly how much money there should be. They know what the interest rate should be. And yet, in free market economics, we have come to understand that prices are key. The price of a product tells the businessman and the consumer what to do. If the price is too high, the consumer doesn't buy. And then the businessman knows what to do. So without that, socialism is destined to fail. And this is what a free market economist by the name of von Mises in 1912 predicted. So he predicted the default of a communist system before it was actually really, at its best level. It was yet to come, but socialism was, explained to never work, and it didn't work, and we've seen the failure of it. The only question now is whether interventionism, which is what we have today, how long it will last. But money is 1/2 of every single transaction, and yet we don't question the fact that, a couple individuals secretly, 12 people get together and say, oh, I wonder what the money supply should be this week. Oh, there's a crisis going on. Let's double the money supply. Let's create $15 trillion worth of bailouts. Who gets the bailouts? Oh, the people who are too big to fail. The people who are too little to worry about, they go and they lose their jobs and they lose their houses. This is all done behind the scenes. The Federal Reserve is bigger and spends more money than the Congress does. And there's no oversight. And this is one of the reasons I have for years and years argued for oversight. Back in the 70s, it was Henry Royce, a chairman of the Banking Committee, wanted to do it, and Henry Gonzalez, another Democratic chairman, he tried to get it done. It hasn't been done. But we are making inroads due to the lawsuits that have come up and due to a very partial audit that we had last summer. So we are getting some information. The information isn't good. The Fed was involved with probably about $15 trillion worth of transactions, and 1/3 of it was there to serve foreign banks. And when the American people hear this, no wonder they're up on Wall Street raising Cain, because they know that the system is biased against the average person. And I think this is an issue that really questions the whole idea of the interventionist system. And what I said at my opening remarks was that the free market is the humane system. It's a humanitarian system. It is the very best. And yet it is we who argue for limited government and free markets are always saying, oh, you guys don't care. You just put people in the gutter. You won't give them anything for free. And this is the result. Well, the result is that the system we have today, whether it's the recession or the result of a financial bubble, just think of the housing programs. We had easy money, easy credit, lower interest rate.